The coffee maker hisses like it's spitting. The plastic button sticks, and I stand there like a fool, clutching a cardboard cup, while the conference room behind me is applauding. Applause for him. Spencer Drake has presented a breakthrough financial model that will reduce operating expenses by 28% over the next 6 months, someone said into the microphone. The voice was joyful, with a touch of awe. I recognized the tone we usually use when we talk about the discovery of a vaccine or the landing of a rover. But the model was mine. All that code, formulas, analytics, cross-tabulations, 32 nights in a row with red wine and a pencil behind my ear, all mine. And now it applauds under his name. And I am silent. I just stand by the coffee machine, listening to the plastic creamer dispenser squeak. I didn't lose my temper. I didn't slam the door. I didn't burst into the room. I was taught not to raise my voice, even when you are being erased. Do you know what hurts the most? It happened so, normally, no hysterics, no blood. They just accidentally missed my line in the presentation. They just didn't have time to add me to the list of speakers. Just a technical error in the press release. Just 14 years of life and nothing. I look at the glass wall. The hall is half dark. The light is directed at the podium. Spencer, in a snow-white shirt, like a corporate church pastor, waves his arms, imitating openness. Next to him are slides, a perfect visualization of my data, even my colors, even this stupid shadow in the charts that I once accidentally left and then fell in love with. The shadow is still there, but I'm not. I don't cry. I don't scream. I don't write down dramatic stories about women in business. No. I just put the glass on the counter of the coffee machine, slowly, silently, because if I did it suddenly, my fingers would break. When you're dissolved in the office, it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a drop of acid that eats away at your name day after day. You're still sitting in your office, still holding the pen, still typing reports, but you don't exist anymore. I open the mail. Subject: Presentation slides. Final. The sender is Spencer Drake. The first slide is New Model, Author, Spencer Drake, CFO. I'm not a CFO, but he doesn't care, do I? I don't care either, but in a different way. I will not throw myself into the fire. I will not shoot this video on TikTok. I'm going to do what I do best. Create a plan, and not a revenge plan. Because I'm not a child who wants the offender to bite his finger. I want to stop anyone else from doing this to you. I click on New Folder. I write a name. Contingency Plan. It's not funny. It is dry. While the phrase financial revolution is being used in the room, I copy my original spreadsheet from the cloud storage. I create a chronology of edits, screenshots, dates, comments in Google Sheets. The whole story is in the numbers. Spencer could have taken the light away, but he doesn't know that light has a source. I knew this day would come. I just didn't think it would be like this. I used to be in the habit of coming to the office before everyone else. Not because I'm a workaholic. No, it was just that I could work then. No small talk, no squeaking of heels in the corridors. No, have you seen that memo? When you have a 63-level financial relationship between liquidity risk and rising logistics prices on your screen. I remember that first day like it's a day ago. No one was waiting for me in the lobby. HR was late. The name on my badge was misspelled. Annika instead of Annika. I didn't correct it. Why would I? In this glass and steel building, it's still more important how many lines of code you write than your name. Everything there was, as if without you. I was given a job, temporarily, because yours isn't ready yet. It remained the same for another 6 months, and the men around me, they were also temporary, only unlike my chair, they had authority, and they had a voice. I was perceived as a useful Excel add-on. Oh, you're good with spreadsheets? Well, then here, summarize this, and I'll go talk to the client. I would nod. I inhaled. I worked. But over time, the numbers began to speak for themselves, and that was my first quiet triumph. In November, when the whole office was already thinking about the Christmas holidays, I started building the same model. It had no name, just lines, formulas, tabs, something on the border between technology and music. Everything was based on spending patterns, which for some reason everyone ignored. But I saw them, just like you see a disease in an early scan, intuitively, and then confirm it with analytics. No one believed me until I brought back the results. They were as accurate as Swiss watches. It was the first time they heard me. For the first time, I was invited to a meeting. For the first time, they poured me coffee, and I didn't make it. Spencer wasn't there yet. He would show up later. He would greet me as if we had known each other for 100 years. He'll be like this, a typical startup guy who doesn't understand anything about finance, but says, "Feel the flow," instead of, "Let's look at the balance sheet." And then there was still silence. I was working on the kitchen table at home, wearing socks and an old sweater, typing code while everyone else was celebrating the new year. I don't even remember how winter turned into spring. I named the first version of the model draft_alpha1_final.docs. Typical of me. It's funny, but I didn't believe that anyone would ever read it. And then, I brought it to the office. I showed it to Marlon from the risk department. He looked at it for 5 minutes and said, "Not bad, but you need someone normal to explain it. They won't understand you." I smiled then, and then I went and printed out 112 pages and laid them out on the table in the meeting room. For 3 days in a row, I answered every "what if" and every "why is it like this?" For 3 days. And on the 4th day, I was told, "Come on, we'll show it to the board of directors." But I didn't know yet that "we" doesn't always mean together. I thought the model was a victory, but it turned out that it was just a launching pad for someone else's takeoffs. He walked into the room with coffee without even saying good afternoon. Just like that. "You're Annika, right? You have a cool font in your spreadsheets. Not Arial, but what is it?" "Calibri Light," I answered automatically, without even turning around. It was the first time. I didn't know at the time that this is how all manipulations begin, with a compliment addressed not to you, but to your font. It was neutral, a safe praise, as if not serious. But it touches you, and it triggers the mechanism of, maybe he's really paying attention. Spencer Drake, new, fresh, a little too confident, a little too smoothly coiffed. A PowerPoint man, not an Excel man. But he is nice. And what's worse, he knows how to be nice. In the office, this is often more effective than being smart. "I was told that you calculate the future. Is that true?" He smiled. "I just count," I answered. And I wanted to add, "Those who know math rarely predict," but I restrained myself. He began to appear often. He would come to lunch, ask me to consult for 10 minutes, or send me a message like, "Can you take a look with one eye?" All requests are small, all with a smile. And I agreed. Because, well, why not? I didn't immediately notice that some of my ideas were coming from his mouth, in a different wording, without betrayal, just as a common opinion of the team. And, interestingly, it was as if I was already considered part of that team, but without mentioning my name. "We're all in this together, aren't we?" he once said at a meeting. And then he looked at me and smiled. He winked, and a thought came to me. Aha, so this is already collective property. He always acted like he wasn't afraid if something went wrong, as if he wouldn't be fired anyway. And it was disturbing, because in business, if someone isn't afraid of anything, it means either they're stupid or they have a roof. And Spencer was not stupid. One such evening was a presentation of a new strategy to the board. I spent 3 nights working on visualization, optimization, and scenarios. We prepared everything together, in my office, on my laptop. But when the day of the presentation came, I received a message from his assistant. "Hi, Annika. The format of the event has changed. There are a limited number of slots left, sorry. Spencer will present everything himself. We will discuss the result later." I sat in front of the screen, sipping cold coffee. The only thing I could write back was, "Okay, thanks for the info." It was like ripping off a bandage, and to see that under it was not a scar, but a fresh wound. I still believed it was an accident, that I was still in the team, just a technical overlay. But then I received a photo report from the event. On one of the slides was a flowchart. It was mine. I didn't even change the color palette. The caption was, "Spencer Drake's risk-to-profit equation." That was the first time I thought, great, now I'm not just going to count profits. Now I'm going to count everything. We were one team. But in that game, there was only one name on the scoreboard. It was not just official, it was loud, with a buffet, with the press, and with the same presentation on the screen that I'd been putting together in blocks, like a puzzle against insomnia. The Forbes Financial Summit is a big deal, a big stage, people in suits that cost more than my annual income, and in the very center, Spencer Drake, our golden boy, CFO. Although I still didn't understand who pushed him there, he came on stage with the same confidence that guys in bars use when they order something stronger for her. And worst of all, he had charm. Not talent, not depth, but charm. We have developed a breakthrough model that allows us to predict the profitability of projects in the early stages with an accuracy of 92%, he said without blinking. And I watched my flowchart appear on the screen, with a caption, Spencer Drake Model V1. Model, his. The first version. I was sitting at home, wearing knitted pants and a laptop on my lap. I couldn't even get angry. There was something worse than anger, a deep silence. He hadn't just appropriated the model, he had invented it as his own, and no one else questioned it. Then I opened the file for the first time, and I looked at the properties of the document. It was created, Annika Marlowe. Updated by Spencer Drake. Last modified the day before the conference. My hands were shaking, but not from emotion. It was calm, cold, mathematical calm. I logged into the corporate portal and found a recording of an internal meeting with the risk team 2 weeks before the conference. The passage where I explain the logic of calculating the coefficients. He sits on the side. He nods. It's recorded. Screenshot. Upload. Date. Archive. It was not revenge mode. It was archiver mode. Folder evidence_1. Folder media_2. Folder legal_doc. The next day, I came to the office. Everyone was happy. Did you see Spencer's speech? Our project is something. They patted me on the back. They thought we were one team. And then I got an email from him. It was short. No greetings. Annika, if you have time, please take a look at the new version. We need to optimize the cost factor in the second part. By the way, thank you for everything. Without you, this project would not have worked. No signature, no subject line. Just, thank you. 10 words. After he signed my work with his name on stage in front of 100 people. I didn't respond then. Instead, I opened Google Drive and created a new folder. I named it Contingency Plan. It was no longer about resentment. It was about survival. I didn't need applause, but I would not allow myself to be rubbed out anymore. And that night I realized he still thinks he won, but he has no idea what game we are really playing. He signed my model as his own, and I signed silence. For the time being, I've always believed that Excel is a kind of weapon. Only most people think it's a notebook with formulas. For me, it's a coordinate system. It shows everything, where the mistake was, who corrected it, and when. My model wasn't just a tablet. It was a structure. The pulse of the company, recorded in dozens of parameters, each of which I checked manually. And now this pulse was beating under someone else's name. But instead of going out with a poster, I did something else. I opened the edit log tool. The date, December 14th. Edits made, Spencer Drake. Comment, updated for presentation purposes. It was not a proof. It was a trace, and I knew how to collect traces. I started creating an archive, each version of the model in a PDF with a date. Every email with a link to my reports is in a screenshot. Every internal correspondence where I gave explanations to the team is uploaded to Google Drive, private, on an email account that even the IT department did not have access to. It wasn't revenge. It was preparation for the big rain. I didn't know when it would start, but I knew that umbrellas wouldn't help. It's interesting how quickly people forget who is really doing the work. A few days after the presentation, the manager of the procurement department approached me. Annika, can I have your cash flow sheet? Spencer said that you made it for him and that he lost the file. He didn't lose it, I said. He just never had the full version. Oh, she blinked. So should I ask him again? And in that second, I saw how it works. People don't want to understand. They just want an answer. The one who gives the answer has the power. I said, I will send you an up-to-date copy, but officially, through a system request. Okay. She was already running somewhere else, not realizing that I had just started recording who I was giving the document to and when. Each file had a watermark. It was small, barely noticeable, but it was there. Am in it. I had no allies, but I had variables. And variables are better than people. They don't lie. They don't wink at you at a rally and say, we're all a team. At one of the evening rallies, at the end of the day, I was sitting by the window. There were 2 interns next to me. They were discussing Breaking Bad. I thought the ending was weak, said one. Too predictable. You just wanted the main character to survive. No, I just wanted him to take everyone out before that. No emotion. Cold. I smiled then, and I thought, well, we'll see, kid. In my story, the ending will be without music, but you will remember it. One table is not a war, but it can be a map of it. I was pulled out of my usual Kitterol plus C, Quitterol plus V cycle when Ada called. Her voice was like a thread about to break. Anna, Mom is in the clinic. She's having another malfunction. This time it's serious. Will you come? It wasn't a pause. It was a wall breaking through. Because up until that moment, everything had been based on habits, on reports, on coffee. And then there was the hospital, the silence, monitors, and the smell of chlorine, which, even through the mask, for some reason reminds me of childhood. And vulnerability. Mom was lying on her side, as usual, even here with her stubbornness. She didn't want to complain, but the pulse on the screen was flitting around like an uncertain graph. And I was sitting next to her, with my laptop, and I was working. It's funny, but it was in this room that I finalized a new version of the model, the one that was already named after Spencer. I just finalized the forecasting for a longer horizon. And right there, between drips, I added a new variable. Manipulation factor. Yes. And I wrote it down. I worked because I couldn't stop working. It was my only control. In the evening, I received a letter from the office HR. Annual reassessment of roles and functionality. Please fill out a new form about your contribution to strategic processes. The form was 3 pages long. Not a single field where I could write in. I built a system that the CFO now sells as his own. I didn't fill it in. Instead, I created another document. I named it ghost_contributions.excelsex, and I entered there, day after day, what tasks I did, who I passed them to, who worked with them further, and which of them now look like his authorship. It was not a denunciation. It was a memory, because when the system amnesizes, someone has to remember. On the 3rd night, I was returning from the hospital and opened my phone. There was a message on the screen. Annika, when you have time, can we talk? Spencer wants to know why you haven't been answering his letters lately. I didn't answer. I just turned off the phone. And for a second, I allowed myself one sentence out loud. In an empty taxi. Not now. The world can fall 3 times a day. But I still had submit by midnight. The letter arrived at 18:06. I was sitting on a bench in front of the clinic, warming my hands on a paper cup of tea that looked more like heated water. There were a few chestnuts lying under my feet. Someone was smoking nearby, and it seemed as if this world was completely unaware that at this moment, my voice from the company was being officially silenced. Topic: Department restructuring, new opportunities. Your role has been valuable, but due to changes in the company's business goals, the function will be closed as of the 1st of next month. Just like that. PDF, without a meeting, no call. Signed by Spencer Drake at the bottom. I read the letter twice, not because I didn't understand it, but because I expected to see at least something human. At least one phrase that would acknowledge that yes, we know you did more than your job description. But no, everything is as usual, clean, smooth, with a smile at the end of the sentence. Only this time it wasn't mine. I returned home and sat down at my laptop, without pathos, no music in my headphones. I just opened the contingency plan folder and selected a document called Termination Protocol A. It was not just a plan B. It was my life suit, hand-sewn overnight, in the darkness of other people's successes. I sent an official letter to the board of directors. The subject: abuse of intellectual property within strategic initiatives. The factual basis is attached. There are 17 attachments to the letter: Zoom videos, screenshots of correspondence, dates of edits to the model, even file metadata. I wasn't just complaining, I was building a case. The response was an automatic confirmation, the standard one. Your request has been received and will be reviewed within 3 business days. But that was enough, because it was no longer a rumor. It was now a fact in legal circulation. The next morning, I received an invitation. Annika, we would like to invite you to the office for a short meeting with representatives of HR, legal, and Spencer. The format is to clarify the details of your contribution to current projects. I wasn't surprised. It was a logical move. Pressure, protocol. They expected me to either break or defend myself, but I wasn't going to defend myself. I was going to record. It was cold in the meeting room, not because of the air conditioning, but because everyone was trying not to make eye contact. Only Spencer was relaxed, even playful. Annika, let's make this easy. We need to clarify. Did you actually create the final structure of the model? Because it seems like it was the result of teamwork. I looked at him and nodded slowly. I have all the versions, with the history of edits, and the recordings of the meetings where I demonstrate the logic of the formulas. Do you have a flash drive? The lawyer, a man with an always squinty gaze, raised an eyebrow. You prepared all this in advance? I didn't plan to lose my name in someone else's PDF. The moment was short, but the silence was tight. Everyone was waiting for me to cry. I just gave them a list of files with a description. As a technician, as an analyst, as a woman who has nothing more to prove, only to record. After the meeting, when we got off the elevator, Spencer suddenly spoke. You know this is going to go too far. The company doesn't want scandals. If we can find a way to make everyone happy. I smiled, for the first time in a long time, not tiredly, but like a chess player seeing the end of the game. You wanted to win, Spencer. I just wanted to survive. And, I'm still on the board. Now he knows I'm not gone. I just stayed quiet longer than he expected. 3 days after that meeting with HR, I received an email, an unofficial one, no copies, straight from Spencer. Annika, hi. I think we both realize that the situation is complicated. Is there a way to resolve this quietly? Can we talk? I knew this was coming. He's always been good at this, seizing the moment when you're weak and giving you a reasonable alternative that looks like a compromise but is actually a surrender. An offer to quietly exit with compensation, with an NDA, with a little note at the bottom. Do not violate the company's image. I didn't answer right away. I was waiting, because I knew that the next step would be a meeting, and I wanted to be ready for it. On Monday, I received an invitation, an informal conversation with the CEO, CFO, and a representative of the legal department. The meeting was in the Horizon meeting room. It was telling. I dressed as if for the last day of the war. The one where you either sign a deal or blow up a bridge. Black suit, minimal jewelry, only one flash drive in my inside pocket. There were 4 of us in the room. Spencer, smiling as always. The general was cold and attentive. The lawyer was the same one who handed out booklets about the company's ethical culture last year. And there was a young woman with an iPad who was scribbling at an incredible speed. She must be a stenographer. Annika, we thought, Spencer began, that given the changes and your personal situation, maybe you can see for yourself that it's time to move on? These changes began after my name disappeared from your presentations. I didn't raise my voice. I stated it. I stated it as a fact. Look, we don't want to hurt anyone. The company is ready to offer decent compensation, positive recommendations, complete closure of all issues. And NDA, I added. Don't forget the NDA, the standard one, 24 pages long, where I can't even mention that I worked here. It's a common practice, the lawyer put in. I pulled a flash drive out of my pocket and put it on the table. This is not a common practice. The whole story is here, from the creation of the model to the moment it was called the Spencer Initiative, and all my involvement, which you want to erase in one payment. There was silence. 1 second. 2. And then the voice of the general. We will study it, and we will return with an answer. Spencer was silent. He just looked at the flash drive intently, as if it might shoot. And maybe for him, it did look like that. When I was getting up, he called out, I thought we would understand each other better, yet we had walked a long way. I stopped. You have not gone a long way. You passed by. Me, my work, my voice. And now you want me to become silence. But I'm not your resource, Spencer. I am an author. I didn't come here to win. I was looking for the truth. And now it was lying in the center of the table in the form of a flash drive. On Tuesday at 9:13, I received an email marked Internal Confidential. The sender is the company's legal director. Dear Miss Marlowe, thank you for the materials you provided. As part of our due diligence process, we are launching an internal investigation into the authorship of the financial model presented at the Forbes Summit. Please do not discuss the matter with other employees until the procedure is completed. That's it. It had begun. It was not yet a verdict, but it was already a position. And most importantly, everything was recorded. And in the corporate world, papers have a longer memory than people. The following days were strange. It was as if the silence became heavier. People stopped nodding at me in the corridors. No one spoke directly, but everyone knew something. I was the one who filed with the council, and he was the one who could be removed. On Wednesday, I logged on to the internal portal and saw the profile updates. Spencer was no longer listed as the head of the strategy execution team. It was just CEFO, no department, an empty field, like a shadow. At 15 o'clock, we had a meeting with financial supervision. Everyone was there. For the first time in 2 weeks, the full staff was there. Even the CEO came in person. I sat to the right of the projector. For the first time, not as an analyst, not as an extra, I was just present. And that was enough for me. After the CEO's opening remarks, a lawyer spoke. She spoke calmly, without emotion, as only those who know that their voice is now the law can do. An internal audit revealed that the financial model presented at the Forbes Summit was developed by Annika Marlowe as an independent strategic initiative, with technical additions from the analytical group, but with full intellectual authorship and conceptual design on her part. Someone dropped a pen. In this regard, she continued, the company is officially recognizing her contribution and updating relevant reporting and external materials. Ms. Marlowe's name will be included in reports and presentations used in connection with this model. That's it. This was the moment. Spencer was sitting next to me. His face was expressionless. His eyes were blank. He didn't argue. He did not object. He must have known that every word was now on the record. After the meeting, I went out into the corridor and sat down on a bench near the reception. The silence was thick. Only then did I receive a new message on my phone. Can we meet? It's not about work. It's just, I didn't think you'd really go through with it. The sender was Spencer. I didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, I went to the cloud and opened the last file I hadn't sent. A Zoom recording from when we worked together on the first versions. He was laughing then. If it doesn't work out, I'll just say I did it myself. You don't mind staying in the shadows for a while, do you? I didn't answer then. I just nodded, automatically. Now I made a new copy of this recording. I renamed it. Proof_final_final.mp4. No, I wasn't going to expose anything else. Not now. But I wanted him to know that I was keeping it. And I remember. I didn't press play. I didn't have to. I heard it all over again. But this time, from the right side. When I came to the office on Friday morning, there was an envelope on my desk. No signature. It was just letterhead paper. Inside was a letter from the CEO. Miss Marlowe, we formally recognize your key role in creating a financial model that has changed our strategic paradigm. In this regard, you are offered the position of strategic advisor with access to all stages of business decision-making. Thank you for your commitment. I read it twice. Not out of shock, but because I had imagined this moment so many times over the past months that now that it had become a reality, it caused nothing but calm. I didn't smile. I didn't jump. I just moved the letter to the edge of the table, sat down, and took a sip of cold coffee. The same as the day he stole it. Spencer wasn't in the office. There were rumors that he had been transferred to another region, that he was on temporary leave, that he was working it out. I didn't ask. I was not interested, not because I didn't want to know, but because it was no longer about him. It was about me. The next day, I had an appointment with the strategy department. I had to officially present my model under my own name, without a shadow, no intermediaries. I had slides in front of me, a presentation. It's a familiar thing. But now, instead of Spencer Drake Model, the title read, Financial Framework by Annika Marlowe. I didn't read it to the end. I closed my laptop and said, "You have already seen her. Now feel the difference." She came back home. Someone laughed. Some applauded. But for me, it was not a performance. It was just a dot. That night, I went to the roof of the building, for the first time in a long time, without a laptop, without a phone, no plans, just me. I took out my old business card, the one with my name still in small print, and at the bottom, Operations Associate. I kept it in my wallet all these years, a reminder of how it all started, how quiet it was. I tore it up, slowly, around the edges, and I laughed, not loudly, but with relief, because I realized I didn't take revenge. I just didn't let myself be erased, and that was enough. The next morning, I handed in my notice, not for dismissal, but for temporary leave, without explanation, without the phrase, "I'm tired," just to breathe, because sometimes, even when you win, you need to leave the room, not by slamming the door, but quietly, so that those who stayed could finally hear, "You were here. I didn't win. I survived." Sometimes that's enough for history to remember your name.